The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.
Welcome to the Boulder City Coaches Show here on the Boulder City Sportsnet. I'm joined once again by Coach Bubba.
Hello.
How you doing, Coach?
Good.
Good. So another tough week.
Yeah.
I think the score was 20-0 against Democracy. And last week when we talked, it was high hopes again.
Right.
You know, the kids looked ready to play. Mm-hmm. You know, they have their leader back. Let's talk a little bit about the game. What happened?
Honestly, we just didn't play good. I think that's the only thing that we can kind of say about it. You know, I think the kids were definitely ready. I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary that they were doing. We're just kind of the running theme throughout the year is like we're just not making the plays when we need to make the play. You know, we'll do like on offense and defense. We'll do fine on first and second down. We keep them, you know, when we're on defense, we keep them to like a third and you know, it's manageable for them, but like when we need that play on third down, we're just not getting it. And we're making the play, but it's 2 yards after the first down. You know, offensively, you know, we're kind of doing some stuff on first and second down, getting to a third and manageable. And then, you know, we're dropping a ball or coming up short, or then that's the play that we're missing a block. It's just kind of being able to put all the stuff together, and we have moments, and even in the Democracy game, we have moments of like, all right, this is the team we're going to be. Things are going to be good, and then it's followed up by something that just kind of shoots us in the foot over and over again, and it is very tough.
Yeah, watching the games, it's Coach JJ calls them the cardiac kids.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely a good name for him. But Gage came back this week.
Yes.
You know, coming back off an injury like that can be difficult, you know, especially when so many people look up to you and you're supposed to just come back and just start throwing for 15 touchdowns
exactly
in the next 3 games. And, you know, it's not that easy.
Right.
Talk about his play a little bit this week.
No, it was good. And kind of touching on what you just said, that was a conversation I had with Gage before the game started. And I was like, listen, you need to stay within yourself. You can't win the game by yourself, but you can win the game by yourself, you know, and explain to him that, like, it's just do what you can do and good things will happen. You definitely see early in the game there was a little bit of nerves and jitters with him, a little, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like trigger happy with some stuff, thinking there was some pressure when there really wasn't. But that's to be expected. You've been out for a while and we're kind of throwing you in. And especially coming into this late in the year, good teams and bad teams are both in a rhythm, one way or another, you know, and then to have missed 6 weeks and then to step in, there's a lot. It's moving faster than you think. He took a little bit of time to get himself kind of situated. I think there was a little bit of panic. And again, they had a really big defensive line. And early on in the game, one of the things he said when he came off, he's like, I just can't see the receivers. And I was like, calm down. Like, you're fine. It's the same thing we've always done. And he was like overthrowing a couple guys early in the game. Then he ran the ball 1 or 2 times. First couple times it was, you know, you could tell he was like, oh God, I'm about to get hit. And then after that, he started to play a little bit better. And then when he started getting the ball on our receivers, then we weren't catching the ball great, or we were kind of stopping our route when we were doing what, you know, when he was throwing it where they should have been and stuff like that. But it was just so nice to have him back on the field and having that presence. And I know it didn't look or turn out the way we wanted it to, but it was definitely a kind of breath of fresh air with the offense a little bit this week.
And let's talk a little bit about so Cam Matthews was a starting linebacker before he went to quarterback,
right.
And now that Gage is back, I'm guessing he moved back to
Yes.
linebacker.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about him moving back to linebacker.
Yeah, he had a good game, and Cam is a very emotional player, which I think I really enjoy having him on defense because he's that kid that he's a little bit of a wild card. He got a penalty early in the game Thursday night, and it was on a punt, and their kid was kind of like running up to the ball, and Cam just went up and clocked the kid from behind, and we're like, what are you doing? I was trying to knock him into the ball, and I was like, all right. But like, that's what you're going to get with Cam, that little bit of like a chip on his shoulder, kind of not necessarily dirty, but just like a little extra. And that's where I really like him on defense. That's one of the things that I said even last year watching him play on the JV level is he's that guy that like, he's just angry when he's on defense, and then as he's gotten better this year, and again, having the opportunity to just play defense, I think is a huge benefit to him. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to do for us, like in the future. I think with another year under his belt at linebacker, I think he's really going to shore up that defensive side of the ball for us in the future.
That's awesome. And it's nice for him to go back to his original spot
Right.
and for him to really get those reps because, that's where he loves to be.
I did tell him before the game, I was super mad at him. All right. So the Valley game, he played defense, didn't do any quarterback. Then he played 6 weeks in a row at quarterback, and then back this week to just linebacker, right? And the week 1 against Valley, he had the neck roll.
Yeah.
And then he didn't wear the neck roll at all when he was playing quarterback, and he went back to the neck roll. And I told him before the game, I go, Cam, I am genuinely pissed off at you right now. And he was like, why? I go, how awesome would you have been wearing the neck roll at quarterback? I'm like, if you would have done that, like, I don't think Gage comes back and plays. If you're the quarterback with the neck roll, you are rolling for the rest of the season. And he was like, oh, man, I thought you were really mad at me. And I was like, no, but that would have been super cool.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the new kids don't understand, like, how, like, cool that used to be, or, like, the
100%.
Goggles and, like, the different face masks and different stuff like that.
And I even told him when
like,
he walked out, like, the Valley game, and he had the neck roll on, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's a linebacker right there. And
awesome.
I got mad at him because he plays it. He doesn't pull his jersey up over it, but the jerseys nowadays, like, don't really fit up over it like they used to, and like the, in the old days where it just looked like you had no neck. Yeah. So he had it down, and I was like, yeah, if we can get that over the top, that's the way to go.
That'd be awesome. So moving on to what happened, like, after the game, what do you tell your team going into the last 2 weeks of the season?
Well, we had a good talk yesterday, and and I'm one of the things that I kind of pride myself on, and I've always said that I will do, and I've done this with like all the different teams I've coached, is I'm very honest with the kids. I don't feel the need to, I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt about anything that's going on. And, we had told them going into the week that the Democracy game was a must win. If we get that win, we are 100% into the playoffs. That is our best shot. And kind of looking at it, that was kind of our only shot to get into the playoffs. And after this week, and we lose, but there's still an opportunity. It's not, the door isn't completely shut. To get into the playoffs, we need to win the last 2 games of the year, and we've made it much harder on ourselves, and I've told them, like, if you guys really listen to the way I talk, like, I will tell you the games that I'm like, yes, we should win this game. I believe we can win this game, stuff like that. We've put it to a point now where with the Slam game, we've got to play our best game of the year, and Slam's got to probably play their worst game of the year. And if that happens, we've got a shot. But if we do our part in it, that's all I'm looking for. If we play our best game of the year and Slam comes out and plays their best game of the year and it's not enough, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's kind of what I want them to understand, that give us what you can and we've got a shot. And exactly. I felt that way all year, and I told them it's not that I'm, we've gone into all 8 games and there was really only 1 game this year where I was like, I don't know if we've got what it takes to beat that. And that was the Durango game. And not because of our kids, it was because of our lack of kids that week.
And I mean? Durango's ranked like 5th right now, right? Yeah, so they're actually a really good team.
We played a very good non-conference schedule, and that was one of those games where, and, I'm very honest, like we have this conversation with like my wife every week, and she's like, so what's going on? Like that Durango game, like I said to her, I was like, if we can make it so it's not a running clock, that's a win this week, and that's not based on our team. That was based that week on how many kids. That was a week we had literally nobody.
And Durango is a very good team.
We were playing 17 we had 17 starting spots not filled with the guys who were filling them at the beginning of the year, you know? So, but like being really honest with it, and like the Virgin game, I was 100% like, we can win this game, and I think we will win this game. Last week, same thing, you know, and going into it, and I told them, listen, the odds are not in our favor this week, but that doesn't mean anything. That's on paper. That's with, you know, kind of what I've seen us do and what I've seen them do. But it's high school football, and anything can happen. You know what I mean?
They're coming to your place too,
right? And it's senior night, you know, and I am a firm believer that like the seniors play on senior night. Like I'll never not play the seniors. But that's kind of what I laid down to our seniors on Monday was it's senior night. And like, I'm going to kind of give you guys the two options. And I go, and I'm fine with it either way, but like, let's be honest with what we're doing here. And we could go into this week and I will start all the seniors. I will never not get the seniors in and do that sort of thing. But if we're going in it to win, seniors will start. And if you're not making a play, then I will put somebody in that will make a play. So your senior night might be 1, maybe 2 plays, and then you're done for the night because we're playing for the win. Or we can kind of pack it up and we could play senior night where seniors play the whole game and we make sure everybody gets the ball and everybody goes out with that one last kind of big shebang on the field. I'm like, and I can do that. And I will support, if that's what you guys want to do, I will support that as well, you know? And the kids said like, no, we want to go for the win. And I was like, all right, well, you seniors are going to get the start. You're going to get your opportunity to show what you can do. And we're playing for the win. Like we're not packing it up. And that's something that I was very proud of the boys for saying, because I've been around teams where that kind of selfishness at the end of the year of, well, I want to get my shot. I want to play the whole game. And there's some seniors that haven't seen the field much and they understood kind of what this means if we're actually playing to win. Like you guys are going to get your opportunity, but as soon as you can't get it done, then we've got to put somebody in to get it done because the team goal is to get this win and try and get into the playoffs.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about Slam.
Mm-hmm.
I know they lost last week to Virgin Valley, maybe by like 13 points, 26-13 maybe or something.
26 of 16.
16 or something.
Like
yeah, something around there. Beat Moapa. Pretty good team. So I just want to talk about how you're game planning for them this week.
We're so again, we're kind of going to start all of the seniors on defense. I think we're with the people we have that are able to play because we do have a couple kids out this week again. Kind of stay more of like a 4-4 a little bit, just because that's what the personnel we have right now. And in terms of offense, just really we emphasize today, we need ball control and we need 3 yards at a pop. We don't need to be running anything crazy. We don't need to try and doing a bunch of trick stuff or pulling guys or doing things like that. I want the line to push guys off the ball. We need to be aggressive. We've got Sam. If we can get a 1-yard push, Sam is going to get us 2 extra yards on that initial contact. If we can do that, we are fine, you know, and with the skill guys and the wide receivers really talking about just getting the quick passing game stuff out, get your head around, the ball's going to be on you, get it and see what we can do. You know, I think it's a lot of kind of simplifying way more. And these are the things we're good at. We've got a couple run plays that we run well, but we're going to really rely on those this week. And it gives us a little bit of an opportunity for Gage and Sam to kind of run the ball. And, no, I'm excited. I think it's something that can work if we execute, and that's kind of been the whole theme this year.
Yeah, and you know I'm really excited because we're going to be calling it this week, and I'm excited to see how your boys respond because, like you said, senior night brings a little different atmosphere, especially for the seniors. You know, knowing that like, hey, maybe we won't even get in, but at least we can ruin someone's night, you know, at least maybe push them down a couple spots or something like that. So, you know, I'm really excited to see, especially Gage. I haven't seen him all year. I'm really excited to see him. I know he was a little shaky last game, but I feel like this game he's going to be a little more eased into it. But, yeah, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your younger team. That's really all we can talk about the older team for now. But,
yes, sir.
Did you
Were there any players that came off of the JV squad that earned a permanent spot on the
that group that we kept up, I am keeping up throughout the rest of the year. I'm not sending them back down. They've come up and they've done their thing. A lot of them aren't getting. I think some of them are probably a little disappointed because they're not playing a little bit more, but they're giving us help in areas that we really needed it. And I think that going into this week, we're going to get some of those guys in a little bit more kind of later in the game, especially if, depending on how the game goes. And, there's good things from that group. This week, Brandon Hobbs had a great game at defensive end. He had a couple sacks this week and he played defensive end and controlled his end of the line of scrimmage, which was good to see. Colton Lewis is doing a good job on defense. He played safety that week against Virgin Valley. Last week, we bumped him up to like an outside linebacker kind of thing, and he's stepping up and making the plays. It's not, he's not destroying people, but he's throwing himself in there and he's making tackles, and that's what we need. Offensively, we've got a couple linemen that have been playing good for us kind of throughout the year. They've been bouncing back and forth a little bit, and I like what they're doing. And looking ahead a little bit with like next year, we've got 4 senior linemen, so having the 2 sophomores come in and play with us. One is Ian Throckmorton, and it's hard for me to say it normal because every time I'm like Throckmorton because it's just very Viking. That was very weird to say it the normal way right there. And then Coach Render calls him Ragnarok.
That's funny
because he could never remember his name. And then the other is Cohen Burrows. He's been up and down throughout the year. He is probably pound for pound one of our best linemen in the program. His skill level is there. He throws his body around. He's definitely getting stronger. He's just, as he gets bigger and stronger, and like he's got some quickness that it doesn't seem like he has, but like you see him moving, all right. So like those 2 guys are pretty good anchors. I think Brandon Hobbs is a kid that'll play offensive line for us next year a little bit as well with the defensive stuff. And then the 2 skill guys that have been playing on offense, Gavin Robinson and Seamus Lemon, both of them, they're running good routes. They're catching the ball when it's thrown to them. This week with kind of our backs against the wall against democracy, like we went with the older boys a little bit more because I was like, all right, these guys are going to make some plays, but I know those younger guys are going to, and they're kind of picking up on what we're doing offensively. And then the one that's kind of honestly been doing awesome at practice and kind of does everything we asked for, but he's one of those kids that's kind of, because of his size, he's kind of a kid without a position, is Otis Ruth. He moved up for us. He did some special teams for us this week, but Otis is a kid that I absolutely love, and I'm very excited to have with us full-time like the rest of the year and obviously next year, because he's a kid that you ask him to do anything and he will go in and do it, and he's not going to do bad. It's just he might get picked up and thrown a little bit because he's smaller. He's stepped in and played some running back for us in practice. He is a great tackler, but he's just undersized to be a linebacker and a little too small and slow to be a safety or a corner. But you get him in there and he's going to be in the right spot and he's going to make a play. And then our other sophomore that I don't mean to kind of put to the back burner, but it's Cale Starley. He's come in and he's had some nice runs for us the last couple weeks. He's a good blocker, and he's a guy that I think this week too will give us a little bit of like little something in like the split backs and kind of help us with protection and things like that. But those younger kids, I'm very excited about what they can do. And then, we've talked about it, but like our JV team, I love a lot of those kids. I think some of them are just a little too small to help us this year. And the freshman team, there's a couple of those guys that'll definitely be fighting for spots, next year and into the future with varsity. So young guys are doing good.
Cohen's a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a multi-regional champion a few times over.
Yeah, he's
as a young wrestler.
He's a little stud, and
Otis
like
too. He's another wrestler.
Yeah. No, all the wrestlers are. You can definitely tell the difference, and that's going to be one of the things that going into the off season, really trying to push the kids to participate in another sport. We've talked a little bit, and we can kind of go over this when we kind of wrap up the season and stuff. But really, there's going to be an emphasis on the weight room. And I know it's a whole thing with a lot of different sports aren't pushing the kids into the weight room. And that's, if you're going to play football, you've got to be in the weight room. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if we have 11 kids that are in the weight room, those 11 kids will be our football team. We can't keep going with us being pushed around from a school like Democracy Prep, where I know they don't have a great weight room program and stuff like that, but we've got to get ourselves stronger and in that right spot.
And that's how you compete with athletes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you might not be the fastest, the strongest, or well, you can become the strongest. I mean, you can do stuff to help even the curve and to really just make yourself better, honestly, and keep you in that kind of shape.
And that's going to be like a huge thing. And like I said, we could kind of talk about this when the season's over. And like, I would love to put out what our plan is for the future, because it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same thing. It's going to be different. Like, I've been a part of championship programs, like kind of through my whole life, and there's a certain thing to it. And we initially kind of wanted to gradually get into it, but after kind of the way things went this year, we are all in.
Perfect. Well, yeah, we'll be super happy to talk about that. But let's talk about your younger team. I know they had a game this weekend, and I know they only had maybe 2 games left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so 2 games left. Our 5th and 6th grade boys, they went up and they won.
Nice.
I don't know if it was a 1-point game or
it was like overtime or something.
It was they won right at the end.
Oh, okay.
But they won. They're still undefeated.
Nice.
They get their spot up on officially into the playoffs. And then the 8th grade team, they went up and won. It was a sloppy game, but they won 12-7, which is good. And again, it was a game that came down to the final minute. And that, like, you talk about the high school guys being like the cardiac kids. Those kids, all 3 games they've won have been won within the last minute. So, that was a big game for them too. And then they've all got the off week this week. I don't really know why. I don't know if it's like a Utah holiday. I don't know what the deal is, but we don't play this week. And then next week we finish the year or regular season with both of them. And then hopefully if the 8th grade team wins, they're officially in the playoffs. And then, the 5th grade team is already in no matter what. So they're the top seed. They're the ones that everybody's gunning for. So
and that's awesome. You know, it's good to see that the programs that you guys have brought in are seeing success so early. And like when I talked to some of them last week, the mentality is there.
Oh, God,
so like that's the best thing is the mentality's there. And as that grows, you know, you're going to have actual football players back in the program that just want to take people's heads off.
And the thing too, like with the, and I know a lot of times it gets a little bit overlooked, but like our flag program is doing really well also. You know, there's some teams that, you know, looking at the kids early in the year, I was like, I don't know, like I don't really see like a kid that's like a running back or something, or, you know, fast with this team. But the teams are going out and winning and they're competing, and, you know, even if we are losing, it's like a close game, and like I see like scores of like 28-26 and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
That even when we're losing, it's a good close game, and it's been fun to see those kids. And we've got so many teams at different levels that like everybody's getting to compete and play. So it's not just a thing where like, oh, we've got 28th graders, so how much are you actually playing? We've divided those teams up a little bit more so kids get to actually play. And there's kids that, like I said, I look at it and I was like, that kid's probably a lineman. And then I watched the highlights of their game and I was like, oh, that kid can move. All right, cool. You know, so it's been a lot of fun. And the younger kids, it's with as frustrating as stuff and as tense and everything that it can kind of be with like the high school stuff. It's great being out at the practices on like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the younger kids who literally have no idea what's going on with the high school, they don't know what our season's been like. And they'll come up to me like, Coach, did you guys win this week? And I was like, no, we didn't. Like, that's all right. You'll play again next week. I won this week, you know, so it's been a lot of fun to be around those guys. Kind of keeps you grounded a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, the younger kids, getting them playing time is so massive. People understand, you know, when they're sitting behind people, even when they get up to the high school level, they sit behind people. And sometimes they can sit behind up until their senior year. And that's the first time they get that. So, like, the kids winning in the last minute of the games,
Right.
teaching them those experiences, or the kids being 5-0 and like dominating the league.
Right.
Like those are huge,
Right.
like huge moments for them that they're not going to forget, and they're just going to build upon as they go into high school. And then you won't have that, the gap of I didn't play from freshman to senior year. These kids are going to be football players all the way up into senior year.
Right.
So,
and that's something that one of the things that I've kind of seen with being around the football and like the youth baseball, and then just as those kids kind of transition, and I don't know if this is something that is happening everywhere in the world right now, or if it is very specific to Boulder City, but that's where I'm at. So this is what I see. It is so much of it is a mental, I believe in myself kind of thing. I think I've seen a lot of kids out here that have belief in themselves that I'm like, I don't know why you have that crazy amount of belief in yourself, but okay, good for you. But then with like the team stuff, it's when they go into a game and they believe they can win, they go out and they show out and they win. And when they go into a game where they believe they're not going to win, it is a horrible situation, and it just gets ugly and horrible really fast. And having the kids get some success and get some of that, like, I think it kind of teaches them a little bit more of like kind of controlling their emotions and understanding that they can do some good things, even if kind of the cards are stacked against them. Prime example is like and we don't talk about this very much, but so Garrett has a flag football team, the 7th and 8th grade, or 6th, 7th and 8th grade boys. They've had an up and down year, kind of win some, lose some, whatever. And they played a team that they literally, going into it, like Asa was like, yeah, they kicked our butts a couple weeks ago. Like they beat them like 30-0. I don't know, something like that. It was just ridiculous. And then we went to their place, and the boys team won 8-7. And this is a team that was first place, and they finally like started putting it together. And now they've had 2 games since then, and they've looked phenomenal. You know what I mean? It's just that like snowball kind of mindset thing where like when the kids really believe it, they can do it. And I think giving them the experience to do it early on and have some success, all that's going to do is help with our success in the future.
dude, I wish they had a flag football team when I was in middle school. I was like the 2 years after or something, man. We only had basketball, which we went far in that, but that would have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome, Coach. It's amazing what you guys are doing here, and I think that Boulder City itself, football is going to be on track and is getting there for sure, thanks to you and thanks to Coach Krakalici and all these other coaches that are putting in time to really rebuild it here in Boulder City.
And honestly, it's really just, it's fun, and it's so much fun to go out and just see those kids. Like if you come out to the fields on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night and you see, some days there's 7 different teams practicing on the field and just in all different areas. And like you hear a lot of like the football sounds of like, pads hitting and coaches yelling. That's usually me, or honestly, Crack yells way more than I do. But you hear the yelling and you hear the pads and you hear the whistles, but then you also hear like giggling and laughing and like all that stuff. And
stories.
It really is just like an awesome, cool experience. Just come. I mean, it's very much chaos if you stand there and watch. Like, oh my God, there's so much going on. But it's great, and all of the kids are really supporting each other. So like you show up and you've got the little kids asking the older kids, how'd you guys do this weekend? And how'd you do? And then the ones that have social media kind of see it and they already know, and then they're talking. It really is great. Like I couldn't be happier with how well it's all come together.
Well, that's awesome. And that's all the time we have for today on the Boulder City Coaches Show. But the Boulder City Eagles do play this Friday here at home at 7 p.m., if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
right? Against the Slam Bulls.
The Bulls, yeah. And it's senior night, and we are doing it different this year. So we will not be doing the high school or the football team senior night stuff at halftime ever again. So they'll be doing beforehand. So if you're there to support the seniors, I think we'll probably get that started probably around 6:30.
And I love that. So good idea.
It was awful.
So yeah, show up at 6:30, see the seniors, support them, and it's a big game for Boulder City this week. The boys gonna go get it done, or at least put their best out there. And thank you, Coach.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Till next time.
The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream. The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by